My darlings, lean in. No, closer. Tonight's tale has teeth, and I refuse to let you miss a single bite. Hawksmere Keep may be wrapped in winter's chill, but trust me, the coldest thing within those walls is the deception, layered, fermented, and served like poison in a lover's cup. Whispers are swirling faster than the snow outside my manor windows. The court matrons are gasping behind their fans, the stable boys are pretending they're not listening, and even the Dowager Duchess choked on her sugared plums when this newest scandal reached her ear. Because, my sweet little listeners, it seems the rot in Hawksmere runs deeper than treachery. Oh yes, our villain didn't just sour the hearts of men, he poisoned the very veins of the keep. So slip off your gloves, loosen your stays, pour something wicked into a goblet, and lean into Lady Aurelia Ravenshade's lap of scandal, because Chapter 26 is not merely shocking. It is an absolute social catastrophe.
Chapter 26, The Bitter Spring. The frigid silence of Edmund's chamber pressed in on Alianor, thick with the weight of his whispered horror. Poisoned the spring, feeds the lower Bailey well, slow, makes the mind weak, the body tired, easy to rule. The words weren't just accusation, they were a diagnosis of Hawksmere's slow, agonizing decay. Roland's malignancy wasn't merely violence and greed, it was a meticulous, insidious corruption, seeping into the very lifeblood of the keep and its people. The cellar had been a charnel house of secrets. This revelation was an open grave beneath their feet. Alianor stumbled from the room, the warped box containing Eleanor's note, and the empty vial a leaden weight against her thigh. Sir Jocelyn's visible siege paled against this invisible internal rot. They weren't just encircled, they were being consumed from within, poisoned, drop by drop. Eamon intercepted her near the solar, his sharp gaze instantly noting her pallor. Alianor? Edmund? She seized his arm, her grip desperate. The water, Eamon. The lower Bailey well. Edmund, in a moment of terrible clarity. He said Roland poisoned the spring itself, not just individuals. The source, for years. Maybe since before Eleanor. Understanding dawned in Eamon's gray eyes, cold and absolute. His face tightened, the lines of pain deepening. The weariness, the lingering sickness, Lady Eleanor's frailty, Edmund's decline, Godfrey's susceptibility, even the miners seeming slow to grasp the danger. His gaze swept towards the lower Bailey, horror dawning. The entire village drinks from that well. We all do. We need proof, Alianor stated, forcing steel into her voice. Paralysis wasn't an option. And we need to stop it. Now. They gathered Tom and Father Clement in the solar's meager warmth. Alianor relayed Edmund's claim, omitting the source of his lucidity. The reactions were visceral. Tom cursed, a raw sound rarely heard. Clement crossed himself, his face ashen beneath the fading bruises. Dear God in heaven, the priest breathed. The lassitude, the children who never thrived, illnesses that clung like shadows. I prayed, Lady Alianor. I prayed fervently, but the answers felt distant. Prayers won't cleanse this well, Father, Tom stated, his voice grim as quarry stone. We need to find the spring source, see the taint with our own eyes, and find clean water, fast. He turned to Alianor. The spring feeds the well from the east, deep under the crag. There's an old access tunnel. Miners used it generations back. Gareth. Tom's voice hitched, the name a fresh wound. Gareth knew it well, spoke of its crumbling state. Can we reach it? Eamon asked. Inside the walls? The tunnel entrance is inside the lower Bailey curtain wall, Tom confirmed. Barred and forgotten, but reachable. But the spring itself surfaces outside the walls, near the base of the eastern crag, where Thieves' Beck runs. Jocelyn's wolves will be thick as fleas there now. Jocelyn doesn't know we suspect the water, Alianor countered, her mind racing against the encroaching dread. Or he wouldn't sit so complacently. He thinks his siege is purely external. That time and hunger are his allies. We have a sliver of darkness. She looked at Tom. Can you get to the tunnel entrance unseen? Assess the water before it reaches the well chamber? See if Edmund's nightmare holds? Tom nodded, a soldier accepting a perilous mission. I, after full dark, used the shadows along the inner curtain wall. The lower bailey's near deserted. Folk huddle in the upper keep for warmth and fear. Do it, Alianor ordered. Eamon with me. Marjorie knew Roland's hidden paths. Maybe she knows about the water. She turned to Clement, her voice low and urgent. Father, quietly, carefully, warn everyone. Do not drink from the lower bailey well. Use only melted snow, water from rain barrels, anything not from that source. Tell them it might be tainted by seepage from the mine collapse. It's plausible. It avoids panic about deliberate poison. For now. The lie tasted like ash, but the full truth could ignite a conflagration of terror they couldn't control. Clement swallowed hard, but nodded. I will, Lady Alianor. May God guide us through this darkness. The chapel storeroom felt colder than the deepest winter night. Marjorie huddled on her sacking pallet, a shrunken figure beneath the thin blanket Bess had provided. Her eyes, wide and perpetually bloodshot, darted like trapped birds in the flickering rushlight. She flinched violently as Alianor and Eamon entered, shrinking against the damp stone wall. The water, Alianor stated without preamble, crouching before her, forcing the nun to meet her gaze. The spring feeding the lower bailey well. Did Roland poison it? Marjorie's breath hitched, a ragged gasp. Her eyes darted to Eamon's imposing figure by the door, then back to Alianor. I don't... He never spoke of water. Think... Eamon's voice was a low growl, cutting through her evasion. Did he go towards the east crag, at night, alone, carrying satchels, powders, strange-smelling flasks? Not for the mine's west. Marjorie pressed her hands over her ears, then clawed at her wimple, a gesture of rising hysteria. He went out. Yes, sometimes, hooded, with a leather bag, he said, checking the mine vents. But the vents, they're west. She clutched her head, rocking slightly. Once I saw him return, near dawn. His boots, they were caked in mud, wet mud, and he smelled, not like earth, sharp, chemical, like the still room when he burned the herbs after Godfrey. Her eyes widened, a dawning, horrific comprehension breaking through the fog of fear. The well. People got sick, always tired. He said, bad air from the mine, or weak Saxon blood. She looked at Alianor, her voice dropping to a terrified whisper. He poisoned everything. Everything he touched rotted. It was confirmation, woven from threads of evasion, observation, and fear. Roland had the means, the opportunity, and the chilling motive to weaken resistance, to make Hawksmere pliable under his fist. Edmund's claim held terrifying weight. Did he ever name what he used? Alianor pressed, relentless. How he did it? Marjorie shook her head violently, tears leaking down her grimy cheeks. No, he never told me, but he kept things in that cellar, not just coins, small sacks, powders, gray, yellow, and vials, like the one for Edmund, but others, dark green glass. He'd take them sometimes, when he went out into the dark. She wrapped her arms around herself, a broken vessel of terror. He was the plague, the walking death. Deep in the watchful night, Tom returned to the solar. His clothes were damp, reeking of mildew, ancient stone dust, and something faintly metallic. His face, etched in the lantern light, was graver than Alianor had ever seen it. The tunnel, he rasped, accepting a cup of precious melted snow from Eamon. Entrance was behind the collapsed wine racks, barred with oak gone soft as sponge. I got in. He described the descent, narrow, treacherous steps slick with condensation, walls weeping moisture, the air growing colder and thicker with every step. He'd followed the rough-hewn passage 50 paces, guided by the guttering lantern light, the sound of running water growing louder. A stone channel, carved into the floor, carried the flow from the direction of the spring source towards the well chamber, deep within the keep's foundations. I tasted it, Tom said, his voice thick with revulsion. He spat forcefully onto the floor. Upstream, before it feeds the well proper. Foul, worse than bog water, metallic, sour, a bitterness that clings to the tongue. It's poisoned, milady. No natural spring tastes like that. He met Alianor's eyes, the truth undeniable in his grim expression. Edmund spoke true. The bitter spring is real. The final confirmation landed like a hammer blow. The enemy wasn't just at the gate, it flowed through their veins. Can we block it? Divert it inside? Alianor asked, grasping for solutions in the suffocating reality. Blocking the channel inside risks flooding the tunnel, maybe collapsing sections onto the well chamber below. Tom shook his head. Diverting, the channel's solid rock. We'd need picks, time, strong backs we don't have to spare. The poison enters at the source, outside the walls. We need to find the spring head, cleanse it, or seal it off there. Cut the serpent's head. Which is deep in Sir Jocelyn's hunting ground. Eamon finished, the impossibility of the task settling over them like the tunnel's damp chill. Silence stretched, heavy with the weight of their predicament. Starve slowly under blockade, while poisoned water sap their strength or risk annihilation trying to reach the spring under Jocelyn's nose. We need a diversion, Alianor said finally, the words emerging from a well of cold resolve. Something loud, desperate, something Jocelyn must respond to. Something that pulls his eyes and his men away from the eastern crag. What bait do we have that he craves? Eamon asked, pacing despite the protest of his ribs. Marjorie, Tom stated flatly. Alianor's gaze snapped to him. Explain. He wants her silenced, Tom elaborated, his voice pragmatic. Oswin reported she was held. Jocelyn threatened consequences over her. If we appear to be moving her, trying desperately to smuggle her out, perhaps toward the sheriff, under cover of darkness. He'd see it as his last chance to silence her before her testimony damns Roland. Eamon caught on, a spark of grim hope igniting. He'd commit riders. It would pull men away from the eastern perimeter, create chaos. But it's a death sentence for Marjorie if they catch the decoy, Alianor countered, though the strategic logic was chillingly clear. Less risk than if Jocelyn storms the walls and finds her, Tom pointed out ruthlessly, and we wouldn't actually be smuggling her out, just making a convincing show of it. A hooded figure on a fast pony, escorted, while a small, swift party slips out the postern gate near the old stables, under cover of the commotion, and heads for the spring head. The plan was audacious, dangerous, hinging on flawless execution and Jocelyn taking the bait. But the alternative was unthinkable. We need someone to play Marjorie, Eamon said. Hooded, cloaked, in the dark, at a distance. Bess, Alianor said instantly. Similar build. She's steady. She understands the stakes. She pictured the maid's quiet courage, her care for Edmund, her simmering hatred for Roland's legacy. She'll do it. And the spring party? Tom asked. Need someone who knows the land, can move silent as smoke, handle whatever Roland did to that source. Me, Eamon said, straightening, the pain in his side momentarily eclipsed by necessity. I know that crag. I know water. Tom, you lead the decoy. You know the western ground best for the ruse. I'll take Will. He saw Alianor's instinctive protest. He's young, fast, knows the woods like his own breath, and he burns to prove himself after the ravine. And Len, Jory's brother, he's rock-steady, strong as an ox, and hates Mowbrays with a passion. Alianor looked at Eamon, seeing the resolve, the need to act, but also the lingering vulnerability. Your ribs will hold, he insisted, his gaze unwavering. This isn't just about Hawksmere anymore, Alianor. It's about purging the poison. It's survival. She held his gaze, the shared understanding passing between them. The weight of the secret cellar, the horror of the poisoned water, the monstrous legacy they fought. Finally, she nodded. All right, tomorrow night. Moon's a sliver. Tom, prepare the decoy. Use the sturdiest pony. Head west, towards the river crossing. Make Jocelyn think we're desperate to reach Chesterfield. Cause a spectacle. Eamon, you, Will, Len. Gather ropes, picks, vinegar, lime if Bess has any. Whatever might cleanse or seal, travel light, move like wraiths, find the source, do what must be done, get back before dawn. She took a deep, steadying breath, the enormity of the gamble settling on her shoulders. Father Clement continues the water warning. We ration the furnace grain to the bone. We hold the walls, and we pray the night favors the desperate. As they dispersed into the tense darkness of the besieged keep, the silence felt charged, brittle. The battle lines were drawn, not just against Sir Jocelyn's steel, but against the bitter spring flowing beneath their feet, a silent testament to Roland's enduring, toxic shadow. The cost of survival was measured in courage, cunning, and the desperate hope that their gamble wouldn't unleash a deeper darkness than the poison they sought to cleanse.
Well, 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 my precious eavesdroppers, are your nerves still intact? Mine certainly are not. A poisoned spring, a village slowly slipping into stupor, and a killer whose malice flows quieter than moonlit water beneath ancient stone. Hawksmere's woes are beginning to resemble the kind of scandal even I hesitate to repeat at supper. Almost. And now, a decoy wrapped in deception. A midnight gambit. A desperate trek into Sir Jocelyn's shadowed hunting grounds. My dears, we are no longer nibbling at the edges of intrigue. We are devouring the whole banquet. And trust me, next chapter? Ah ha 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 ha. Oh, you have no idea what awaits you. Until then, keep your goblets full, your secrets close, and your reputations precariously balanced.